story. It's called Horton Hears a Who.
Okay, I'm gonna be reading this book.
Dr. Suez. Dr. Suez.
Who is Dr. Suez?
Suez. Hey, there he is. Dr. Suez looks like an elephant.
Yeah, that's his elephant. I'm gonna be reading this book with my friend Squeaker here.
And I'm gonna help.
Yeah, okay, King Gator. I'm gonna be reading this book.
Dr. Sayus.
It's Dr. Cersei. I know you messed up on author names like Roger Hangover.
Roger Hangover. Favorite story writer.
Yeah. 15th of May in the jungle of Newell, in the heat of the day, in the cool pool. He was splashing, enjoying the jungle's great joys, when Horton the elephant heard a small noise. So Horton stopped splashing. He looked toward the sound. It's funny, thought Horton. There's no one around. Then he heard it again, just a very faint yelp, as if some tiny person were calling for help. I'll help you, said Horton, but who are you? Where? He looked and he looked. He could see nothing there, but a small speck of dust blowing past through the air. I say, murmured Horton, I'd never heard tell of a small speck of dust that is able to yell. So do you know what I think? Why? I think that there must be a small speck of dust. It's some sort of creature of very small size, too small to be seen by an elephant's eyes.
That elephant got some big eyes. He ought to be able to see everything.
Why does he have the big eyes?
Because he's a big elephant.
Yep. Some poor little person who's shaking with fear that he'll blow in the pool. He has no way to steer. I'll just have to save it because, after all, a person's a person, no matter how small.
Look at that, there's a little small person right there. I see him.
Yeah,
you see him? I see him right there.
Yeah. Arby's, we have the small person.
Add the mold.
Let me pull myself together. So gently and using the greatest of care, the elephant stretched his great trunk through the air, and he lifted the dust speck and carried it over and placed it down safe on a very small clover.
It's a good thing he didn't sneeze on that thing. He floated him quite out of the kingdom come.
Pork and beans. Pork and beans are back, baby. Hump the voice. It was the sour kangaroo. And the young kangaroo in her pouch said, hump too. Why, that speck is as small as the head of a pin. A person on that? Why, there never has been.
I see him. He's right there.
Believe me, said Horton, I'll tell you sincerely. My ears are quite keen, and I've heard him quite clearly. I know there's a person down there. And what's more, quite likely this too. Even three, even four, quite likely a family for all that we know. A family with children just starting to grow. So please, Horton said, as a favor to me, try not to disturb them. Just please let them be.
Good job there, Charlie Dog. He did a good job reading, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. In my original film, I wish I had a family, but I couldn't because I'm an orphan. I think you're a fool, laughed the sour kangaroo. And the young kangaroo in her pouch said, me too. You're the biggest blame fool in the jungle of Newell. And the kangaroos plunged in the cool of the pool.
Wait a minute. What? I just had an idea.
What?
I know why Horton could hear that who.
What?
Because he's got big old ears.
What terrible splashing, the elephant frowned. I can't let my very small persons get drowned. I've got to protect them. I'm bigger than they. So he plucked up the clover and he hustled away. Through the high jungle treetops, the news quickly spread. He talks to a dust speck. He's out of his head. Just look at him walk with that speck on that flower. And Horton walked worrying almost an hour. Should I put this speck down? Horton thought with alarm. If I do, these small persons may come to great harm. I can't put it down, and I won't. After all, a person's a person, no matter how small.
Climbing through the jungle. Let's make music together.
Then Horton stopped walking. The speck voice was talking. His voice is so faint he could just barely hear it. Speak up, please, said Horton. He put his ear near it. My friend, came the voice. You're a very fine friend. You helped all us folks on this small speck no end. You saved all our houses, our ceilings, and our floors. You've saved all our churches and the grocery stores.
Look at that. Look at that little writing. See, that's him talking. Yeah. And that's the little writing. That's your quiet talking, ain't it?
It's a small person talking. You mean, Horton gasped, you have buildings there too? Oh yes, piped the voice, we most certainly do. I know, called the voice, I'm too small to be seen, but I'm mayor of a town that is friendly and clean. Our buildings to you would seem terribly small, but to us who aren't big, they're wonderfully tall. My town is called Whoville, for I'm a Who, and we Whos are all thankful and grateful to you. And Horton called back to the mayor of the town, you're safe now, don't worry, I won't let you down.
Way to go, Charlie dog. Good reading.
You're off.
Look at that. Look at that. That Who ball they're playing.
This is just like our tennis racket.
It's like tennis rackets, but with holes at the top of it.
Oh, yeah. But just as he spoke to that mare, the speck, 3 big jungle monkeys climbed up to Horton's neck. The Wickersham brothers came shouting, wet rot, this elephant's talking to Whos who are not. There aren't any Whos that they don't have a mare, and we're gonna stop this nonsense, so there.
Wickersham, 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 Wickersham brothers.
You've never seen the original film.
We're the Wickersham brothers, and I'm a King Gator.
They took Horton's clover and they carried it off to a black-bottomed eagle named Vlad Vladikov, a mighty strong eagle, a very swift wing, and they said, will you kindly get rid of this thing? And before the elephant could even speak, that eagle flew up with a flower in his beak.
That eagle must be a Russian eagle. And Vladikov.
Yeah. All that late afternoon and far into the night, that black-bottomed eagle flapped his wings in fast flight, while Horton chased after, with groans over stones that tattered his toenails and battered his bones, and begged, please don't harm all my little folks, who have as much right to live as us bigger folks do. But far beyond him, that eagle kept flapping, and over his shoulder called back, quit your yapping, I'll fly the night through, I'm a bird, I don't mind it, and I'll hide this tomorrow where you'll never find it.
It's dark.
Yeah, it is dark.
Little girl, it's dark up in here. Look yonder. Look at all that darkness everywhere. And there's old Horton.
Yeah.
And there's a Whoville going off there in the Vladimir birds now.
And at 6:56 the next morning, he did it. It sure was a terrible place that he hid it. He let that small clover drop somewhere inside of a great patch of clovers 100 miles wide.
Oh my goodness! How will they ever find it?
Find that, sneered the bird, but I think you'll fail. And he left with a flip of his black-bottomed tail.
That's a lot of clovers.
I'll find it, cried Horton. I'll find it or bust. I shall find my friends of this small speck of dust. And clover by clover with care, he picked up and searched them and called, are you there? But clover by clover he found, but the one that he sought for was just not around. And by noon, poor old Horton, more dead than alive, had picked and searched and piled up 9,005.
My goodness, that's a whole month's worth.
Yep. All that late afternoon, then on through the afternoon, hour after hour, till he found them at last on the 3 millionth flower. My friends, cried the elephant, tell me, do tell, are you safe? Are you sound? Are you whole? Are you well? Then down on that speck came the voice of the mayor. We've really had trouble, much more than our share. When that black-bottomed bird they let go, we landed so hard that our clocks have all stopped.
Oh no.
Our teapots are broken. Our rocking chairs smashed. And our bicycle tires blew up when we crashed. So Horton, please, pleaded the voice of the bears, will you stick by us Whos while we're making repairs? Of course, Horton answered, of course I'll stick. I'll stick by you small folks through thin and thick.
Look at all that repair work they're doing.
Yeah.
And that one right there, that right there, he's saying, now do the repairs now.
Meanwhile, humped the voice, for almost 2 days you've run wild and insisted on chatting with persons who never existed, such carryings on in our peaceable jungle. We've had quite enough of your belling bungle, and I'm here to state, snapped the big kangaroo, that your silly nonsense game is all through. Then the young kangaroo in her pouch said, me too.
There's them Wickersham monkeys again.
What happened? With the help of the Wickersham brothers and dozens of Wickersham uncles and Wickersham cousins and Wickersham in-laws, whose help I've engaged, you're going to be roped and you're going to be caged. And as for your dust speck, that we will boil in a hot steaming kettle of bezel nut oil. Boil it, guessed Horton. Oh, you can't do it. It's all for persons. They'll prove it to you.
That's just wrong.
Mr. Mayor, Horton called. Mr. Mayor, you've got to prove now that you really are there. So call a big meeting. Get everyone out. Make every who holler. Make every who shout. Make every who scream. If you don't, every who is going to end up in bezelnut stew.
And that ain't good.
Then down at the dust speck, the scared little mayor quick called a big meeting in the Whoville town square. And his people cried loudly. They cried out in fear. We are here. We are here. We are here. We are here.
We are here.
The elephant smiled. That was as clear as a bell. You kangaroos surely heard that very well. All I heard, snapped the big kangaroo, was the breeze and the faint sound that went through the far distant trees. I heard those small voices, and you didn't either. The young kangaroo in her pouch said, me neither.
You got the old bezelnut already.
I thought it was pork and beans.
Pork and beans.
Grabbed him, they shouted, and they caged the big dope. Lasso his stomach with the 10 miles of rope. Tied the knots tight so he'll never shake loose, then dunked the dumb speck in the bezelnut juice. Horton fought back with great vigor and vim, but the Wickersham gang was too many for him. They beat him, they mauled him, and they started to haul him into his cage. But he managed to call to the mayor, don't give up, I believe in you all. A person's a person, no matter how small. And you very small persons will not have to die if you make yourselves heard. So come on now and try.
What they need is a yop.
Not until we get to the end.
That's what they need. They need a yop, though.
Yeah. The mayor grabbed the tom-tom. He started to smack it. And all over Whoville, they whooped up a racket. They rattled tin kettles, they beat on brass pans, on garbage pail tops, and old cranberry cans. They blew on bazookas and they blasted great toots on the clarinets, oompas, and boompas, and the flutes.
And there's a big bass right there. There's a little bass.
It seems like they're making music together.
They're making music together.
Great gusts of loud racket rang high through the air. They rattled and shook the whole sky, and the mayor called up through the howling mud, hull blue. Hey Horton, how's this? Is our sound coming through? And Horton called back, I can hear you just fine, but the kangaroo's ears aren't as strong quite as mine. They don't hear a thing. Are you sure all your boys are doing the best? Are they making noise in the music? Are you sure every who down in Whoville is working? Look through your town. Is there anyone shirking?
I can help them. La, 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 let's make music together.
Through the town rushed the mayor from the east to the west, but everyone seemed to be doing his best. Everyone seemed to be yapping or yipping. Everyone seemed to be beeping or bipping. It wasn't enough. All this ruckus and roar, he had to find someone to help him make more. He raced through each building and he searched floor to floor. And just as he felt like he was getting nowhere and almost had to give up in despair, he suddenly burst through a door and that mayor discovered one sugar quite hidden away in the Fairfax Apartments, apartment 12J.
Apartment 12J.
A very small sugar named Jojo was just standing and bouncing a yo-yo, not making a sound, not a yip, not a chirp. And the mayor rushed inside and he grabbed the young twerp.
This is the problem of the Jojo with the yo-yo.
Good joke. And he climbed with the lad up the Eiffelberg Tower. This, cried the mayor, is your town's darkest hour. The time for all who's of blood that's red to come to the aid of their country. He said, we've got to make noise in greater amounts, so open your mouth, lad, for every voice counts. Thus he spoke as he climbed. When they got to the top, the lad cleared his throat and he shouted out, yop! Yop! And that yop, that one small extra yop, put it over. Finally, at last, from that speck on the clover, their voices were heard. They rang out clear and clean, and the elephant smiled. Do you see what I mean? They proved they are persons, no matter how small, and the whole world was safe for the smallest of all. How true, yes, how true, said the big kangaroo. From now on, I'm gonna be, you know what I'm planning to do? From now on, I'm gonna be protecting them with you. And the young kangaroo in her pouch said, me too, from sun in the summer, from rain when it's fallish, I'm gonna protect them, no matter how smallish.
Beautiful job, little girl. Beautiful job, dog.
How do you look in the show?
Oh, I look like this right here?
Yeah. I look like the Bon Scott.